Hi, my name is Matt Belitsky, and I'm the data guy. This is my first live stream, and I appreciate you joining me. I will have to say, though, that there are currently no viewers because this is the first of its kind. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and why I think you'd be interested in listening to hear me out. For about 15 years or so, I've been a software engineer of sorts. I consider myself a full stack engineer, but my specialty is in Salesforce.com. And when ChatGPT had its rising moment in 2023, October 2023, I said, I think this is the ticket for my next career in understanding how to get involved with AI and how to make it work. And so, as I've been evolving my knowledge and expertise since then, I've become quite proficient in the world of AI and what's possible and what's not possible. And uh, in learning as much as I did in such a short amount of time, I realized that there are a lot of people who read the headlines and they have fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and they just don't know where to go to get the right information, and everything feels very scary. Those audiences I'm mentioning are students who are just about to graduate. They hear that AI is taking over entry-level jobs. They're not sure about what the skills are that were needed in school. They're learning that maybe the skills that they have are not as helpful as they thought they would need, and the landscape of the job market is ever shifting. We have professionals, which can be defined as small business owners all the way to people working in corporate America or corporate jobs across the world. There are people who figure out somehow to create leverage in something that takes 3 days, all of a sudden takes 30 minutes, and they're being celebrated for it, but people aren't necessarily sharing tips and tricks internally. And so there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt happening across that world, with people not understanding what's possible and not sharing what knowledge has been discovered. And then the third group of people, which is a group of people that I find very interesting and underserved in the AI landscape, are seniors. Seniors are trying to grapple with the technological innovations that are happening, while at the same time trying to maintain their independence. And with all of the jargon and the hype and the hysteria about AI, it is definitely not helpful, in my opinion. And so, over the course of the last year or so, I've been on this journey to figure out how to democratize what I've learned about AI to those three segments. And so, I'm excited to share with you that I've written a book called Skip the Line, and it comes out on June 26th. And give me a second to figure out how to show you what that is. But here we go. There we go. Let me show you in this way. There you go. So this is Skip the Line. It's a book that I wrote about how to unlock your unfair advantage at school, work, and beyond. I'm very excited about the release of this book. What started as a book which was supposed to democratize information, I realized that each of these segments that I mentioned have their own unique way of learning. We can think of students who are mostly Gen Z. We have professionals who are, across the board, all sorts of different walks of life, but mainly, especially in corporate America, a lot of millennials, a lot of people who may be a little bit older. And then, of course, we have seniors who are baby boomers and above. And they've all witnessed technological advancement in a different way. And so this book is written with those perspectives in mind. And it's my passion to be able to share the information that I learned. Now, what you won't find in this book is AI, the term, overused. Instead, I just grapple with the reality of what it is that's happening in our world. I'll give you an example. Gen Z might not understand this, but seniors will. In the 70s, when the microwave was invented and used for the first time, it completely transformed the way people prepare food. Another example I'm thinking about is um, when a party line was replaced by a landline, or a landline to a cell phone, and then the emergence of the internet. And so all along our lives, we have already grappled with the technological innovation. And I think that what's missing with AI is somebody to clearly and concisely explain what it is that is being evolved so that people can lean in and understand and get excited. And so that's what I've done. And I realized that not everyone loves to read, and not everyone is going to line up and get the book right away, because you don't really know much about me. And so what I figured I would do is introduce myself in the way that I know how, which is, let me get rid of this. It's my first time doing a live stream, so this is an interesting thing. Let's get rid of that. All right. And what I want to share now is reach. This is what I'm planning on doing. Every week, I'm planning on live streaming what I'm calling reach. And if I can go to another screen, I'm going to share with you what that means. I'm going to do screen. I'm going to go to here and share. Oh, not very nice. Let's get rid of me. Let's go to just that. There you go. Okay. So reach is radar, explore, applaud, challenge, and head start. And let me tell you what these things mean. Radar will be covering recent news, really kind of like oddball but interesting stories that I've picked up throughout the week that I think you'd be interested in, that probably other AI hype people wouldn't necessarily lean into. And we're going to relate the content to those three audiences that I mentioned. Next, in Explore, we'll do a deep dive session. And what I'd like to do is eventually get into the method of sending out a pre-read to a community of watchers, etc. But I realize that's wishful thinking. So for now, we'll just lean into Explore and we'll get it going. Then we have Applaud, which is me celebrating somebody for doing something very interesting in the world of AI and being a real like iconoclast, making sure that we can follow in their footsteps. Then we have challenge, where I would like to challenge the audience to lean in and learn something, knowing that we're going to chat again next week. And then head start is a preview about what will be covered in the next session. So it's kind of an iteration of sorts, and I think that this is where we're gonna go. You'll notice that the skip the line, if you saw that thumbnail from before, has I'll share it right now. There we go. Let me put it over here. So the skip the line, you can see that it has a whole bunch of people who are on the outs, and they don't have passage to the golden path to the success door, but you do, because I'm here to give it to you through this book and through this education. So buckle up, Buttercup, because I'm about to get educated. But you'll see here on the left with reach, I'm trying to show this acronym where this is how you're going to get to the door of success, in addition to reading the content from the book, because we'll make the content digestible each week, and hopefully you'll enjoy the format. So that's that. Let me go ahead and close this and close this and go back to me here. How do I stop sharing? Stop sharing. And there I am, back to me. Okay. So what I want to tell you is that I don't love Slides. I feel like a lot of people make slide deck presentations and they share slides all the time. I'm more of like a document kind of person where you can go through the document. And so I've prepared some documents that I'm planning on sharing with you. And I'm really curious to understand if this is interesting or not. But it's kind of just how my mind works. And so that's where I'm planning on going. Uh, so you might see me sharing some documents right now. Let me get my screen ready to go. We'll jump right into the radar section. And let me get it ready. Just a second, here we go. Let's get this and put this over here. 1 second, doing it live, a little improv moment. Did that work? Yeah, it kind of worked. All right, so here we go. Share my screen again for radar. And let's try this. We're gonna go to share screen, go to here, and where do we go to here? We go to here. All right, radar. So here are 3 interesting articles. Now, I follow quite a few people online, and one of them is Clayton Ramsey here. And the article that I chose, which is linked here, is thought-provoking because it talks about how we are increasing our reliance on AI-generated content, which I'm sure you can understand. Let me see if I can make myself. Whoop. There you go. There you go. You can see me. Anyway, talking about students, so back to students using large language models to generate papers or assignments, they're missing out on the developing crucial thinking skills. And the piece suggests that the human thoughts are more valuable and interesting than AI-generated content. And I thought this was an interesting piece. Of course, you can see here on the page, the impact for students is it encourages critical reflection of how encourages critical reflection on how AI use affects skill development, highlights the distinction between compelling assignments versus gaining knowledge, and then questions whether short-term convenience sacrifices long-term learning. For professionals, this prompts the consideration of AI's role in the workplace communication and outputs. And this is kind of a teaser of where we're going to go in the Explore section. I'm going to talk to you about the difference between models from Anthropic, OpenAI, and Google. And we're going to talk about the kind of different personalities that exist with these models. Now, if you're a professional or a student and you've used any of these models to try to write research papers, you know that the output, when you provide the same input, is quite different. And we're going to go through some of that in a bit. So impact for professionals, mention that here, raising questions about the authenticity in professional contexts, and explores when AI enhancement helps versus when it diminishes professional growth. And then impact on seniors, talking about the influence on education quality and preserving human creativity, and also provides perspective on learning processes and how they're changing for younger generations. I don't think any baby boomer or senior could even imagine being in class and having the ability for an AI to generate a paper without you having to do the research yourself. If you think about how like journalists or even people who are writing papers maybe 20, 30 years ago, the process was all about the sources and the context and the research and being right and having the right answers. And now doing an internet search and getting a position on a paper happens quite quickly. And so the world is really changing. Anyway, that's the first article. The next is an article that I found quite interesting. I'm going to see what loads here. Alice detects the conversion of lead into gold. at the LHC. What does that mean? Let me tell you. So scientists at CERN's Large Hadron Collider, LHC, have measured the transmutation of lead into gold during particle collisions. Okay, so you know when you turn water into wine, well, here we're turning lead into gold. While this achievement has fascinating connections to the ancient alchemical dream, the amount produced is minuscule, showing how modern science can accomplish what was once considered impossible through entirely different methods than alchemists imagined. Now, how much gold is necessary? It looks like it's just 29 picograms, which is a very small unit of measurement. But in any case, this is very interesting from a scientific development, and maybe something you didn't see in the news this week because it wasn't picked up by major stations, but just a very interesting thing. So the impact for students here, demonstrating how historical scientific aspirations transform into modern discoveries, illustrating complex physics concepts through an engaging example, and then obviously inspires interest in STEM careers and cutting-edge research. For professionals, shows how seemingly theoretical research can connect to historical human emissions, highlights the importance of measuring and qualifying results, even for rare phenomena, and presents opportunities to discuss how we communicate complex scientific advances. And then for impact for seniors, I'll just kind of summarize this, connects modern science to historical concepts, offers a gateway to understanding particle physics through a familiar concept, which is alchemy. I don't know how familiar you are with alchemy, but there you are. And while you're on the screen here, I also put some additional search terms for different things people could search for using models or doing their own research to learn more about these topics. Now, the third one, I hope this isn't too controversial, but the Pope identifies AI as the main challenge for humanity. And so the reason I brought up this article is because literally everyone has a perspective on AI. And my recommendation to you is to quickly form one yourself so that you understand where you sit in the reality of where we are as AI continues to evolve and change. So here we have, I'm just going to read it from the page. The Pope, the first American Pope, has identified artificial intelligence as one of the most critical challenges facing humanity today. In his first formal address, he drew parallels between AI and the Industrial Revolution, highlighting how his namesake addressed the social questions of the era in his 1891 Rerum Novarum. The new Pope emphasized concerns about AI's potential impact on human dignity, justice, and labor. Not the lightest topic in the world, but definitely something that's something you should know about. So impact for students here, a couple of bullet points. I can see you're probably reading them. Impact for professionals, and then for seniors, and then of course some additional search terms there on the bottom. So that's the radar section. And I would love to get your feedback. I don't 100% know how comments work. I do know that one thing that's very interesting to me is if you are able to join a live stream in the future, and let me tell you what that means. Let's go over to design and let's go to, just kidding, captions. Here we go. So here's welcome to Reach, your weekly dose of AI education. Let me go back and stop sharing this. Okay, look at that. Welcome to Reach, your weekly dose of AI education. It's exciting. Then next, catch Reach every week. Broadcast live Saturdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Available currently on YouTube and Rumble, and soon to be other sources. And then another thing, as I mentioned, the book Skip the Line is going to be available on June 26th, and you can pre-order it today at thedataguy.com/skiptheline. Or you can also scan this QR code on the screen, and it will take you directly to the Amazon pre-order, and then if you're watching this in the future, Amazon order page. So you can go ahead and grab that. It's $7.99 US for the US version on Kindle, and then there will be some other versions, including paperback and hardcover in the future. So exciting times ahead. Now, one more thing that I'd love to do is I'm going to throw on some music. Let's see if this works. Let me go to, let's see. Let's like amp up the vibe here a little bit. Yeah, that's more fun than just listening to me drone on and on. All right, we'll keep that. So now it's a party. You're welcome. And the thing I was trying to tell you is that eventually you'll be able to, here, let me turn down that music a little bit. I'll distract you. Okay. Grooving, that's good. Okay, now we're gonna go back to here. I know you can't see what I'm doing. And then look, new comments will display here. So if you're watching this live in the future from 2 p.m. Eastern time on Saturdays, you'll be able to chat with me live across all of the streaming platforms, and the comments will appear here, and I'll be able to chat back and forth with you. So haven't tried it yet, but we will try it together, and I will be here. So something for you to know. Okay, loving that music, loving the music. It's a fun little moment. Okay, so next up, we talked about radar, and I shared 3 articles with you, and open to any feedback about the format of that. I know that was a lot of text. Maybe you can make it more punchy and fun. Just tell me what you think that would be. So leave a comment, I think, or I think that's the best way to do it. Just leave a comment and try to go from there. Look at this thing on the bottom. It's like being a news anchor here. Okay, then next up, we're gonna go to explore. Okay, now full disclosure, I built an app and it's really cool. And it's available right now in 2 versions. And I'm gonna share it with you, but first, I'm gonna give you a little bit more about the explore section. So give me a second there. I'm teasing you. I'm just giving you all the teasing. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna stop this ticker tape thing. We'll go to here, stop that. And now I'm going to go to share. And we're going to share this. Okay, cool. So, show of hands, who here has used ChatGPT or Claude from Anthropic or Gemini from Google? I would say the majority of people who have tried AI have. And when I talk to people about AI from all different walks of life, they're excited to tell me that they've used ChatGPT. But then the problem is that they're unable to articulate like what value they got from it, other than it being a cool magic trick where it was able to provide tons of information in record time, but they're not 100% sure, the quality of the audit of the data. So, yeah. Anyway, that's sad because there's a lot more value to be had, and so here's what I'm going to do. Actually, I'm going to show you what I built. I'm going to do 2 things. Let's go here. Check this live. I'll tell you my prerogative is that there'll be other faces and people on the stage here, not just me. But I have to start somewhere. So hopefully, if you're interested in engaging with me, I'll share some more details in a bit. But anyway, we'll get there. So hold on. Live, we're doing this live. Okay, I gotta go over here. second. Come on. Almost there. You can read ahead on this document. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna close this. All right, so here's what I built. Let me share this with you. I built an app called MattChat app. It's also available at mattchat.com, but still in beta. And you're saying to yourself, what is this? Well, you know how you have to have a subscription to ChatGPT to talk to OpenAI's models like GPT 4.0, 4.0 mini, etc. You have a subscription with Claude to talk with Claude models, which is like Sonnet, Haiku. And then you have a separate subscription with Google to talk to Gemini. They have 1.5, 2.0, Flash. There's like different models there. Well, my app, which is giving me a little trouble right now. Again, it's in beta. And let me start, let's go share this tab instead. Here, you have basically the same experience that you would have in those platforms, except over here, you are a chicken. That's good. This is a live demo. I'm showing somebody else. Here, you have the option to choose to chat with all of the models. And so basically, I can tell it to be something. Give me an example here. Let's say you are a chicken. Sure, you're a chicken. And then we're going to go, hey, tell me about yourself. And here we have, Bach, let me introduce myself. I'm a chicken. Anyway, we're chatting with Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and I can do a new chat, and I can chat with Gemini 1.5 Flash, and I can say, you are a dinosaur. Tell me about yourself. It's a dinosaur. Anyway, imagine being able to compare inputs and outputs from all of the most popular models in one place. That's the power of MattChat. And I can't wait to share more of it in the future. But for now, I figure you're probably wondering, well, Matt, now that you have the ability to chat between these three things, what makes it special? What's the difference between them? And so that's what this document represents, which could serve as a pre-read in the future for this meeting. And let's jump into it. So we have Guide to AI Models, Claude, GPT, and Gemini, or ChatGPT and Gemini. So not all LLMs are created equal. And I'm going to read from this because I know you're seeing this for the first time. So I've noticed something important after working extensively with different AI models. They each have their own distinct flavor and approach to helping users. Just like different restaurants might serve the same dish with their unique twist, AI models serve up information with different styles and strengths. In this guide, I'll share my insights on 3 popular AI models: Claude Sonnet 3.5, OpenAI's GPT 4.0, and Google Gemini's 1.5 Pro, which all happen to be available through MattChat. Surprise! And I'm going to explain their differences along the way to make sure it's accessible for students, professionals, and seniors. So the companies behind these models and the corporate culture and how it's influencing the AI design. First, we'll talk about Claude's models, which are from Anthropic, which is an ethics-driven innovation company. So founded in 2021 by former OpenAI researchers, Anthropic emerged with a core mission focused on AI safety and developing. And they're all about safe, beneficial, honest, and harmless. And so Anthropic's constitutional AI approach means that Claude models are designed to be extremely careful about the claims they make. The results in the model tend to be more thorough in its explanations, is programmed to avoid making unsubstantiated claims, prioritizes transparency and evidence-based responses even at the cost of brevity, and then maintains consistent values throughout interactions. Think of Claude as reflecting the cautious, research-oriented culture of Anthropic, meticulous and committed to getting things right, rather than rushing to conclusions. Okay, a little foreshadowing for the next section here. OpenAI, pushing boundaries while navigating complexities. So company background, founded in 2015. Most people think it was started in 2023 when ChatGPT had its moment, but it was actually founded in 2015. And OpenAI has evolved into a complex organization, both for profit and nonprofit elements. And it's positioned itself as pioneering cutting-edge AI capabilities while navigating the balance between innovation and responsibility. How it shapes GPT models. So OpenAI's organizational history is reflected on how its models function. Balance, seeking between innovation and caution, versatile capabilities that push technological boundaries, calibrated to handle a wide range of tasks for diverse audiences, and strategic vagueness when uncertain, rather than making incorrect claims. Now, that's a really interesting sentence. So, whereas Claude tends to over-explain things to make sure it's clear that it doesn't have the context relevant to get an answer for you, OpenAI has systematically programmed the responses to be vague when uncertain, so it doesn't make incorrect claims. There's a concept of hallucination where a model might say something that sounds really realistic but is completely actually inaccurate. And so as these models have evolved in the last few years, this is how these companies are trying to manage expectations, knowing that there are more users and more eyeballs scrutinizing the types of outputs that these models are providing. So let's now keep going to Google, which has a data-driven and mass market focus. So I'm sure that if anyone has used Google Workspace, they've been offered to try Gemini, and maybe they've had some initial success and they've seen some cool things. In my experience, I find that the content is a little bit too generic. So as you know, Google is one of the largest tech companies in the world, and they have access to what could be considered unprecedented amounts of user data. So you would expect that with them having access to so much data, that the models would be really precise and be able to give you really specific information. But in my opinion, I think what happens is, since there is so much goodwill and trust built with Google and its users, it doesn't want to show off that it can be as precise as we think it should be, and instead it kind of appeases to the masses. And so here I have how it shapes Gemini. It's more of a corporate focus, serving billions of users. And so the models are designed to appeal to the broadest possible audience, follow patterns learned from large amounts of data, prioritize standardized responses that work for most people, and then lean toward formal professional language that minimizes risk. Okay, so an example is you can be in Gmail, which is the email component of Google Workspace, and you'll see a little pop-up that says, let Gemini write an email for you. And so you either choose from a template or you massage information, and you'll see that the responses it gives are incredibly generic and very formal, overly formal and corporate, in a way where you're like, this isn't how I talk. Shouldn't it be using the context of what I'm already saying in messages to understand how I should be writing this email? And it's just not there yet. And I think it's because the company is really leaning on a corporate stance of, let's make sure we appease the masses first, and we don't want to creep anyone out with how much insight we have about everyone. That's my personal experience and my my perspective. So jumping down into the different personality types, we have Claude, Sonnet 3.5, which is the thoughtful explainer. So I mentioned before, I'm going to kind of summarize through this. We have thoughtful and thorough. I found that Claude tends to provide more detailed explanations than other models. Careful with claims, mentioned that before. Excellent memory. Okay, so one of the things I love about Claude is that you can throw a lot of information at it, and it does a really good job of remembering the entire conversation history, making it a particularly strong contender for ongoing discussions, complex projects, analysis. There's this concept of needle in a haystack, which I've used in the past. It's one of the ways for testing model effectiveness, comparing them to each other. And basically you put a sentence about something in a huge context, and then you ask it basically a question, and you try to understand how efficient it is at finding that small detail as a needle in a haystack. And I think that there's been a wide range of testing done across all of the platforms. In my experience in using these three through MatChat, I think that Claude does the best job. And I think in a future session, I would love to dig a little bit deeper, but I would love to know what you think. So the excellent memory and strong at coding. And so I'm sure you've heard that AI is taking over coding, and it's like, what does that mean? So you can imagine that with these different personality types, if they're expected to code, and of course there is some ambiguity with coding because you don't know exactly what you're building until you built it, there's different approaches. So sometimes you have these models that are expected to code something, and they code something that's really generic and basic, and you're like, oh, that didn't meet my expectations. And so I hope to uncover a lot more of this and democratize this information through more examples so that you can see what I've experienced, which is not always perfection, especially from the beginning. So we have the thoughtful explainer as Claude 3.5. We have GPT-4o, which is the adaptive generalist. So if it were a person, they would be a versatile friend who's comfortable in many different situations and can quickly adapt to whatever you need. Balanced approach, strategic vagueness. I mentioned, I've noticed when uncertain, GPT-4o might give you a more generic answer than risk being wrong. Selective memory. So in my testing, it sometimes focuses more on the recent parts of your conversation and even like the start and the end of your conversation. I believe I read somewhere, and I could be totally wrong, that the initial models were focused on how humans think and how they remember the first part of a conversation and the most recent context of a conversation. And so if the models were programmed in a way to resonate with humans, then they'd be more conversational. And I find that to be true. There are often times where maybe 3 or 4 turns ago, in me chatting with a GPT-4o or 4o mini model, all of a sudden it forgets the context that we were talking about, and it starts making up claims, or not necessarily claims that are like unfounded or unsubstantiated, but like things where you're just like, are you having a memory loss issue because we just talked about that? And so I prefer using, if you can imagine, Claude versus GPT-4o, but it's important to be able to test all of them against each other, and so that's why I built MatChat. So let's keep going. We have Gemini 1.5 Pro, the mainstream optimizer. So if Gemini were a person, they would be a friend who's always trying to please everyone and follows conventional wisdom, sometimes at the expense of personal touch. I'm sure people from Google eventually see this and be like, oh, that's a backhanded compliment. And I would say that's valid. I don't love using Gemini for anything unless it's going to be hyper corporate speak and kind of generic in nature, but I know that things are evolving all the time. And so, mark my words, things might be different tomorrow. And that's why, again, all of these models are in MatChat to be tested in one place. So to round this out, choose Claude when you need thorough explanations and careful reasoning. You're working on long, complex projects where memory of previous exchanges is important. And it's perfect for research projects, analysis, coding assistance. GPT-4o is good for handling different types of requests, looking at creative content or ideas if you want to reasonably accurate information without overwhelming detail. but I like the details, so I like Claude. But some people don't like the details, so they prefer ChatGPT or GPT-4o or similar. And then choose Gemini when you need to process and analyze large amounts of information, or you're working with massive documents or data sets and you want consistent, predictable responses. And you're looking for pattern recognition across large content collections. So just it's also very good at needle in a haystack, but the output is just, in my opinion, too generic to be useful. So that's that. Now, I have some other real world scenarios in here. It might be overkill to share right now, and then tips for getting the best results, and then a conclusion about like which one to pick. Happy exploring. I would love to hear from you if this type of content is interesting. I hope that you learned something, at least 10% more than you knew before coming into this video. And so, here we are. And I'm also really excited to share updates in the future about MatChat and how to access it. And so that will be exciting in the future. Okay, quick time check. Kind of running the clock here, trying to make this an hour. Let me stop sharing this. One sec. Okay. Oh, there's me again. And just a quick reminder, because I'm getting comfortable with all of these things. So we're doing reach. Reach is, we did radar and explore, and now we're going to go to applause, which is the A right here. And I think it's here. It might be over here. I don't know. I think it's here. It'll be here. And then your weekly dose of AI education. Yes, feeling educated. Then we have catch reach each week. Reach, skip the line, skip the line, or the door. I don't know. Broadcast live Saturdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. And also, don't forget, Skip the Line book available for pre-order today. thedataguy.com/skiptheline, or too much content we can pull up on this screen, or, oh, that doesn't help. Hold on. Let's get rid of that and get rid of that. Or you can just pick up your phone and use the camera, and then use the QR code, and then go to Skip the Line and pre-order the book on Kindle with one click. And the other editions will be available on the release date, which is June 26th. Okay. Yeah, one of the things that I thought coming into this is that I wouldn't be able to fill up a whole hour, and here I am just about halfway through, and I'm already at the 45-minute mark. So, yep, I'm a talker. Okay, next up, we're gonna talk about Affirm. Affirm, not Affirm, but Affirm the company. And there's some just hot news recently. We've got, here we go. So Affirm was in the news for being like a tech forward company and having a real AI strategy. And I remember reading this news a while ago, and then of course, just when I put together notes to share with you, he was on CNBC yesterday talking about the economy and the impact of his organization. So I'm going to show you what I have, and I'm going to jump around a little bit, and hopefully this is helpful. Let's go to here. Oops. Get rid of code. Okay. And now we're going to go to Affirm. Let's just show you the Affirm website. Here we go. The Affirm website. There it is. And we've got, there it is, Affirm. It's a buy now, pay later service. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with this service. So that's great. What I wanted to share is that the CEO is Max Levchin, who is part of what you would consider the original PayPal mafia. And in putting together analysis for this meeting, I wanted to share some insights that I gathered. Um, First, he's a techno optimist, and so he's said that I think the future of AI is more about productivity, not replacement. He's clear commitment. No one has lost their job to be replaced by a robot at a firm. I mentioned that before. And also, he expects the real cost benefits in the next 1 to 3 years, not overnight. This is analysis that I put together from just doing research about him and the company Affirm and their AI policy. And so, just to really bring this home, we're in the applaud section. I'm applauding someone for being forward thinking in the AI space. And that person is Max. I don't know him personally, but if he's watching, congratulations, I applaud you. So let's talk a little bit about the company's data-backed AI implementation strategy. So they have a customer service focus. And he mentioned Gen Z testing shows preference for AI chatbots over phone support. Interesting. Hybrid approach, AI handling routine inquiries so human experts can tackle complex issues. And then measurable results, 50% year-over-year transaction growth from 21.5 million in Q1 2024. And net losses reduced by 35%, progressive rollout, testing specific applications before wide development. So I'm saying applause from an AI educator's perspective. LevChin offers a rare balanced approach between blind techno enthusiasm and fear-based resistance. So I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Affirm's strategy enhances human capability rather than wholesale replacement. Customer needs drive technology decisions, not vice versa, and prioritizes responsible governance while staying competitive. So I think it's really interesting to have like I mentioned, a position in AI about where you think it's going, what are the different news sources that you subscribe to, how do you get your information, and again, what's your perspective, and how is it evolving over time? And so what's interesting for me is to see a CEO who is so forward-thinking with making use of AI in a kind of crawl, walk, run approach, while also going to the market and talking about AI in ways that resonate with kind of the market. And so talking about the different segments here for students, Affirm is demonstrating how AI is augmenting jobs, not eliminating entry positions. There's human expertise increasingly valued for complex problem solving. And customer service remains a human AI hybrid, even though, as we just saw, Gen Z prefers the AI to humans. So there's still a need, but a hybrid approach is what is being called for here. So for professionals navigating the changing landscape, put a couple of different lenses here. We have small business owners and corporate employees, and how different perspectives should be considered. So the data reference point for small business owners is Affirm's measured 3-year timeline for full benefits shows realistic planning. If you're a small business owner and you're saying, I want an AI strategy, don't think about it as though you have to implement something overnight. Think about it, what do you need to know in the next 2 months to make sure that you're competitive in the next year? And then how will it shift over the next couple of years to have a flexible strategy? If you're a corporate employee, you have evidence that a firm is maintaining human oversight for complex questions while scaling operations. So this is a good signal for making sure those in corporate roles who understand how to program the AI and how to oversee it and manage it and test it for fidelity are the ones who are going to be highly valued versus those who are afraid of AI and don't necessarily want to learn and evolve. There you go. So those are some interesting insights. For seniors, I talked about jargon. Practical example, AI chatbots handling routine questions, but humans manage nuanced issues. I hope that sharing this content, in this way and splitting it down into the different audience segments has helped provide more insight than you might get elsewhere. And yeah, that's the applaud section. And I would love to showcase anyone who's doing interesting things in AI, give them a platform to speak and share and talk about their product, and make sure that it resonates with the core audience segments here in Reach, which is students, professionals, and seniors. And so that's applaud. And then what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to switch gears into a combined challenge and homework section. And I'm in a beta testing phase right now. Let me go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing my screen, which is, how do I do this? Stop sharing screen. Love that. Oh, back to me. There we are. Hello. And let me show you something. So I've been working on a new version of my website, thedataguy.com. I'm going to flash it on the screen right now. And let's share screen. Let's go here. Ooh, look at that. Busy, loud with the colors. Let's see. Let's go. Yeah, there you go. It's me. Hello. Anyway, I'm Matt Belitsky. There we are. So AI education for all. This is what I'm trying to get people excited about, and you can obviously see the details about Skip the Line. But knowing that the book is coming out in June, and knowing that the students, professionals, and seniors kind of want a little bit more context, help, etc. When you come to the website and you click on one of these, like I'm a senior, it'll show you this success roadmap. And so you can consider this to be kind of like a prequel to the book, totally free and available for download, I would say in the next couple of days. So if it doesn't work for you immediately, just be patient. I'll have an update next week if needed. But if you're watching this and you want to take advantage, you can check out thedataguy.com/roadmap, or you can just navigate to thedataguy.com. Now, why is this interesting? Let's scroll down. So specifically for seniors, there's a roadmap for you. And we have down here the 5 steps. So, talking about how we got here, reality versus science fiction, the language behind the revolution, your first meaningful conversation, and your path forward. And this is like my way of introducing AI education to seniors without having to look at any tools or anything. It's just in a written document format, and you're able to go through and kind of like jot down notes and learn along the way. And I try to make things really easy to understand so that you get even more value out of these weekly Reach sessions or other mechanisms in the future. So that's one thing. Now, teaser alert, when you click on professionals, you'll see there's a professional here. There's a professional. And there's a different roadmap for you, talking about how we got here, behind the hype, the new business vocabulary, your first breakthrough, productivity breakthrough, and then strategic implementation. And for students, very similar, but also fine-tuned specifically for you. And so my suggestion, if everything works out as planned, is the homework I have is go check out this guide. You're gonna go ahead and jump into the site and then enter your email address, click your free roadmap, and then if everything works according to plan, you should get an email. You authenticate with a link, and then it drops you into the dashboard, which is up here, and then you're able to view, print, and download all of the content that you would need for the success roadmap. And I'm hoping that it'll give you the insight you need to understand kind of this journey that I've been on, get you primed for the book, get you primed for these Reach weekly sessions. And yeah, that is my homework for you. I'm going to kind of wrap us up right now. I would love to thank you for watching this inaugural session of Reach. I can't wait to get feedback on it. I hope the music was a little bit more punchy and exciting. Would love to make this more interactive with more people on stage. Have a whole bunch of ideas. But until then, you're stuck with me, and I'm happy that you made some time for me. So with that, I would say that I will see you back here next Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, available on YouTube and Rumble and potentially other sources in the future. Let's see. And one more plug for the book, Skip the Line, available June 26th. Check it out at theDataGuy.com/skiptheline. And you'll also be able to check out the success roadmap while you're there to serve as a little bit of exciting content until you're able to access the book, and of course until we see each other in another Reach session. So see you back here Saturday 2 p.m. and that's a wrap. Thank you. First time, gotta start somewhere. Here we are. Adios, have a productive day, and I hope you learned something.